All right, everyone, we are going to get started in a minute here. I know Lexi put up the sign in. I am going to get off that and just hand it over to Commissioner Taylor, who is the Oakland County Board of Commissioner for this area, and she's just going to welcome you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. As was stated, I am Lenny Taylor, Oakland County Commissioner for District 18, which includes part of where you are. I share this city of Southfield with Yolanda Smith Charles as for District 17, but I also have the villages of Franklin, Southfield Township, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and parts of West Bloomfield, the Charter Township. But you're here, this is my home, Southfield. I was on the Southfield City Council for 12 years, so this is just home for me. I welcome you with open arms, and I hope you get you learn something from today, and that you walk away happy. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. We have a smaller group today, so please feel free to interrupt at any point and ask questions if something comes up. We'll be a little flexible. We are trying a new start time, so thank you for coming. We have quite the stacked agenda today, but this will all be recorded, so don't fret if you can't get all your notes down. I'll be sending out the slides and making recording available as well. But we will have 5 speakers today talking through the process of going solar and helping to figure out if it really works for your business, nonprofit, place of worship, school, local government, or other organization. All right, so I'm Lexi Curley. I work with the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association as the Solarize coordinator. I'm based in Ann Arbor, and I'm always happy to chat if you have any questions about renewable energy, Solarize, or anything else. GLREA is a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been working to make renewable energy more accessible throughout Michigan for over 30 years. We do this through programs like Solarize and other legislative and advocacy, educational, and community-based initiatives to expand solar, wind, and geothermal. Why Solarize? You probably know a little bit about it, and that's why you're here. But essentially, this is an educational and group-wide program aimed to make solar more accessible. We do this by having everyone here at this meeting today. We'll talk through logistical and financial and technical aspects of solar, answer any questions you guys might have, and then offer a group-wide discount, which our installer will be talking a little bit more about later. But essentially, we want to help streamline the process and guide you through the possibly tricky aspects of going solar, making sure it's a great experience. It's been pretty successful so far. This is our 56th event, and that's led to almost 200 sales. Overall, we've added 1.5 megawatts clean energy capacity and have saved participants such as yourselves over $350,000. We are spread out throughout the states. This is the 4th event of Oakland County Solarize. We'll have 4 coming up after this, which is very exciting. One of my personal favorite programs. But we also have had almost 20 around the state and are always looking to expand. So like I said, GLREA is a nonprofit, so we don't benefit from having these events. We do care a lot about it for a couple of reasons that these 2 graphs illustrate. On the left here is the increase in global average surface temperature, of course, as a result of climate change. You guys have probably noticed all the wildfire smoke this week and other climate impacts. So essentially, we just want to say, we're here to help decarbonize and reduce emissions as it's necessary. And then this other graph is the increase in utility rates for DTE and consumers' energy. As you can see, they've risen a lot over the past few years and are expected to continue doing so at an even sharper rate. All that to say, you can save money and save emissions by going solar, and I appreciate you guys for being here to help with the just energy transition. One last slide before I hand it off to Nicole. GLREA has a variety of other resources in case you have questions after today or want to learn more about other forms of renewable energy. Please check out our website and consider becoming a member to join our clean energy community and support programs like Solarize. So thank you so much, and I'll hand it to Nicole. Thanks, Lexi.
All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Nicole Card. I'm with the Oakland County Office of Sustainability. So we've partnered with GLREA to offer this program to our community. We're hosting 8 events throughout the county so that everyone is able to attend somewhere that's close to their home or business. And I know Lexi has touched on a couple of these things, but I just wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about why we chose to partner with GLREA to offer these benefits to Oakland County. The first one is to provide a reliable source of information. although solar's been around for quite a while, most people who are thinking about solar now have never had solar panels on their home or business before. So it is a new technology for most people, and it's hard to find reliable information that you feel like you can trust and comes from an unbiased source. So that's one thing that we want to provide for people who are curious about solar. The second reason is, as Lexi mentioned, energy prices are going up, and that's not to mention all the other prices that are going up. So we want to address that energy burden that people are facing and help offer a pathway towards a more affordable energy bill. The other reason is that, as we know, specifically in Michigan, the grid is old here and we have a lot of outages. We face a lot of unreliability from DTE. So if you do choose to get solar and a battery, you can really protect yourself from those outages. And even if you don't go with a battery, solar energy being on the grid does help with the peak demand in the middle of summer going down. And so even though you're not going to have energy if the power grid goes down, it does help you avoid those on-peak costs, and it helps lower strain on the grid for the whole community. And the last thing, which is honestly one of my favorites, is that this is a community program, and it does encourage people to talk to their neighbors, talk to other businesses, ask the people who are here with you why they're interested in solar, what they're worried about, and really just encourage this community connection so that you can learn with other people around you and hear about the experiences of others with solar. Oakland County is also very interested in solar for our own operations. I wanted to touch on a couple of things that we're doing, such as we do have some rooftop solar on one of our sheriff's buildings that was installed a couple of years ago. And we've also invested in a solar farm in Hart, Michigan, which is almost completed. And when it is, it's going to supply about 65% of the electricity for all of our facilities. So all of our parks, all of our buildings will be on solar energy through that program. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the food. I know it's a little early, it's 4 p.m., so you're welcome to eat after the session, during the session, right now, but there is some great Mediterranean food from Meza back there. And I wanted to mention that all of the plates, cups, silverware are compostable, and there is a compost bin in the corner there next to the trash if you just keep going past the food. So we try to make all of our events that we host low waste so that we're not generating, trash and plastic from our events. So if you have any questions about that, please come find me. I can help you understand what can and can't go in the compost. But with that, thank you for coming. And I think I'm going to pass it off to Seeger, right? No, Mason. I do this every time. Sorry, that's our inside joke. I forget it's Mason's turn after me.
Well, yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mason Christofield. Do you hear me all right? Okay. My name is Mason Christofield, and I'm with the Detroit 2030 District. So what the Detroit 2030 District is a nonprofit that works to decarbonize the built environment. We were founded from an architectural challenge to be able to build buildings in a better way. One of our main programs today is benchmarking, because it's hard to manage if you don't know exactly where you're starting at. So we have 800 buildings in our program, and they're benchmarking to understand their energy and their water data. But today I'm here to talk to you about tax credits. These tax credits are how they really help pencil this solar project out. So the tax credit that I'm over, as far as being an elective pay ambassador, is elective pay. Elective pay is a tax credit that goes to tax-exempt entities. Previously, to qualify for this tax credit, you had to be a for-profit, but with elective pay, even as a nonprofit, or a tax-exempt entity, so that includes nonprofits, houses of worship, schools, local government. You can still qualify for this tax incentive. And again, my name is Mason Christofield, elected pay ambassador. We also have Peggy Matta that's in the back. We serve the Region 10, Tri-County area, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County.
I'm ready to point it at my laptop. Oh.
So we talk about this tax credit. How much do you get back? So on average, you can get back 30% of your project costs in a direct cash payment. So even if you don't have a tax liability, 30% of your project is coming back to you as a check. With bonuses, that can get up to 70%. So this tax credit is really helping a lot of commercial entities install solar. These tax credits can be combined with other grants. It is not capped. So however many projects that you have, you can claim all those projects. And also, if you scan this QR code, it takes you to the Biotech website, where there's also different grants and different grant writing and other resources that they help you with as well. So what are the eligible projects that we're talking about when we say these tax credits? Well, of course, solar. That's why we're here. Also, battery storage. Battery storage is a huge part of this technology. As we talked about earlier, when the grid goes down, if you don't have battery storage, then you won't be able to still power your devices. So there are other investments that you can do with geothermal. EV purchases, unfortunately, has already expired. EV chargers, unfortunately, have already expired. But what doesn't qualify is energy efficiency measures and heat pumps, unfortunately. The elective pay process is pretty straightforward. It starts after you place your project in service. You will do a pre-filing. After you do your pre-filing, you file your tax return, and then roughly 45 days to 6 months after that, you receive your check. If the IRS is late in issuing your check, they do pay interest. So a couple of deadlines to be mindful of. Solar. These solar tax credits expire at the end of next year. So that doesn't give you a whole lot of time. Of course, if you sign up today, Seeger from Strawberry Solar definitely get you in and complete it well before next year. But these tax credits are expiring. If you're thinking about energy storage, those tax credits don't start to expire till 2032. The biggest caveat to this is the new rule that any project that started this year must comply with, which is the prohibited foreign entity rules. And unfortunately, it's a bit complex, but that's why we're here as elective pay ambassadors to help you through that process. The biggest one I want to point out is the material assistance restriction. And just to say that so much of your project, the materials that's used in your project, a percentage of it can't go over the amount or it is qualified. So when we talk about solar, this year is at 40%. It can't come from a prohibited foreign entity. So when we talk about prohibited foreign entities, mean China. China is a big one. A lot of this technology comes from China, Russia, North Korea. But Seeger is well versed in prohibited foreign entities. So if you're looking to get a tax credit when you install this, he'll make sure that the project meets those certifications and you'll be able to earn that tax credit, because if it doesn't meet those certifications, then unfortunately, you can't claim this tax credit. One of the last things I want to talk about briefly is the braiding funds. Just to say, if your project was 100% grant funded, then you wouldn't be able to qualify for any tax credit. But one of the ways that I've seen these projects pencil out the best is if you are lucky enough or earned a grant, if you can get a grant for 70% of your project, and then the 30% that you still get back in the tax credit, then that's awesome. So pretty much that's just to say that you can't double dip if your project, you can't double dip. You can't have an access benefit to tax credits. And lastly, there are a few financing options that we have. Michigan Climate Investment Hub is looking for projects. They're looking for portfolio scale projects, if that's anything that that you guys have, or Michigan Saves. Michigan Saves has a unique financial tool, which is called a bridge loan. So that same tax credit that you get at the end of your project, they will loan you that money up front. A lot of times you need that money up front to get the project started. So Michigan Saves has a loan where they will loan it to you. Once the project is complete, then you'll pay it back. But that's my time, and I just want to welcome Seeger up to the stage.
Hey, how's everybody doing? All right, so thank you, Lexi and Nicole and Mason, for walking us through those parts of the group program. My name is Seeger Weisberg. I'm the sales manager at Strawberry Solar. I've been there since 2018. We were founded in 2010. The founder's actually in the back of the room today. He's been on a lot of roofs, installed a lot of systems. I also have my other coworker, Ali, here, who is one of our, on our sales team, has also had a lot of experience on the roof as well. But we are dedicated to being a local installer. We've been based out of Detroit since 2010, and we've always serviced pretty much the whole lower peninsula of Michigan. We'll go up to Traverse City, we'll go out to Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo. We do like to have a lot of our business based here closer to home. Obviously, we like to get home in a decent hour. For me, I like to go have my dog a little bit, but a couple people have some loved ones I want to get back to too. So Oakland County Group Buy project is something that we're definitely interested in trying to promote and be a part of. So walking through sort of the commercial side of things today in terms of how these systems work, sort of what the benefits are, hopefully not crisscrossing too much into some of the things that they've already spoken about. But ideally, my goal here today is to give you guys a sense of sort of what this process will look like, what it's going to do for you from a benefit standpoint, and sort of how it'll look with the Solarize program, and then how we get started, financing opportunities, that type of thing. I was supposed to have the owner of the Green Garage, which is actually, it's a really great building in Detroit where our offices are located. It's a co-working space. If you haven't heard of the Green Garage before, they basically curate businesses that are all in the sustainable mindset of business. So Tom had us install some solar panels on the roof of his building a couple of years ago. He's had solar on ever since they first started. We expanded their solar access. I was just talking to him the other day, and he's got it's like around 12,500 square feet. And he told me his most recent electric bill, which is the summertime. You know, he's done a lot of work, not only just in the energy supply side, but his energy efficiency measures are pretty massive in his building as well. But he said his electric bill is $60 for a 12,500 square foot building. And that we've had that solar on the roof for 4 years now, maybe a little bit longer than that. So I was hoping Tom could be here to speak to you guys a little bit more about sort of how the benefits have worked for him. I would love to offer his contact information. I'm sure he would be fine with his contact information going out to anybody that is interested to see how it's impacted his on the business side with a commercial solar project. So it's a good resource for you guys to have if you're interested in reaching out and talking a little bit more to somebody who's experienced it themselves on the ownership side. So yeah, gonna really talk a little bit about why we're here today in terms of why solar makes sense for your businesses. Biggest thing is going to be the electricity landscape and how electricity costs, usage patterns are changing, and how solar makes sense for it. I'm going to walk through a little bit of how solar actually works once it is on your building. We'll go into the different rates, and I think with commercials a little bit, it really depends on the type of building that you have in terms of the rates that you'd be looking at. I've got like a very simple example in here, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I'm talking about the interconnection process, what's required when we tie a system in with DTE or whatever your utility is, and financing opportunities. Then we'll talk a little bit about the Solarize group discount rate. All right, so big question is why go solar? I feel like a lot of people walk into this and think, obviously you want to save a little bit on your electric bill. But I think there's a number of reasons. I do realize now that I left the increased home value in there for my commercial display. But I think a lot of the reasons are, I guess not as apparent, but the biggest thing for me and for us is increasing your energy independence increasing your energy resilience and increasing your energy security. So I sort of put that all into the energy independence one, but owning your electricity gives you a lot of control over what type of cost you're going to see in the future. DT, I'm going to have a slide a little bit later that talks about how much electricity rates have risen over the course of the last couple of years. But the beautiful part about solar is we can give a really good estimate of how much a system that we quote you for is going to produce over its lifespan, 25, 30 years, which is warranty period for a lot of these materials. And you're going to know what you're going to pay for it. So that actually gives you a breakdown of the cost per kilowatt hour produced. And, pretty much all the systems that we do, unless they're, somebody really wants it, even if they're covered in shade. Today, you're saving like at least a third on your electricity costs, maybe a little bit more than that. But you compare that to what electricity is going to cost 10, 15 years down the road from now. And for that, you're going to see that increasing rate. With your solar, that levelizes. The term we use is a levelized cost of energy. So knowing what you're going to have from the cost perspective, not only now, today, but also tomorrow and 10 years down the road, huge advantage and really gives you that independence and that sort of resilience against rising energy costs and other things that might impact what type of energy needs you have. So there are immediate savings, and you'll see that right away with our quoting process. We'll be able to show you right away, hey, year one, this is what we're going to save you on average per month on your electric bill. But we're also going to show you, we do make some estimates in terms of how much we have seen electricity rates rise and what we expect that to look like in the future. So we can give you a really good understanding of what that's going to mean for you 10, 15 years down the road from an overall lifetime savings perspective. Obviously for me, one of the reasons that I've done this, I went to school, I've got my degree in sustainability. We're a business, and like any business, we want to make sure that we are healthy and making money, but everybody on our team really is in this because we're passionate about what we do and we're passionate about being able to make the world a healthier place. So every system that we install, we love to show you, hey, this is going to be the equivalent of how many trees would be planted, by saving those carbon emissions, that type of thing. So I'd like to really try and not everybody, especially from a commercial standpoint, a lot of times bottom line sort of takes over the most important aspect, but regardless, putting this up on your roof is going to make the world a healthier place. Increased home value, let's pretend that that's not in there. There is going to be an increase to your building value. I'm not sure how many of you guys would get something like this and then decide that you want to sell your building, but ideally you go to sell it to somebody that is looking for a profitable building from a property side of things. They know that their electric bills are going to be lower right off the bat with having solar already on there. Outage protection, that's actually something on the commercial side that's a little bit newer and I would say takes a little bit of delicacy in terms of what works for the type of electricity that you have. There are some options that are like, depending on the type of business you have, if you've got like 208 volt, 3-phase power coming in, we do have storage options for that, or 208 single phase. Some of the bigger like factory type situations where they're taking 480 volt, there's not really a lot of good battery solutions that are out there for that type of power yet. And also maybe none that we haven't had a chance to dive into that much, but we are, this is like I said, it's a newer industry. We've only been around for 15 years. I think that a lot of the battery storage stuff has really come into play in the last 5 years. So as that type of scenario grows, for the commercial battery storage, we are obviously very willing and interested in learning how that can apply to the customers that we have. So the beauty about solar is, a lot of our customers, even on the residential side, will get solar, and customers who've installed solar 5 years ago to coming back to us now to say, hey, I'm ready for a battery. I started losing power more often, or I see that the rates are more favorable if I have some storage. I can get more savings. So adding a battery on later is also a very capable thing for the systems that we install. Okay, let's talk a little bit about electricity rates. So I pulled this off of, I think, a Mackinac conference article that I read, but since 2019, so the year after I started with Strawberry Solar, electricity rates have increased roughly 28%. So we actually model in all of our quotes about a 5% per year increased rate in electricity. That's like sort of from today moving forward in terms of getting a sense of how much more electricity is going to cost in those as you get further and further down the road. And our electricity is also 16% above the national average. So we already have high electricity costs compared to most folks in the country, and our rates are increasing very quickly. Again, that's I think the main, when you look at how is solar going to really help you, it is combating that, being combative against that increase in rates. I think that's going to be the number one tool. And you don't really think about, I try to think about like when I first bought my home back in 2015, how much my electricity was. I think I was paying around $95 a month on average, and now I'm at $135. Like, yeah, it's about a 28% increase right there. You think about that same increase rate over the course of the next 25 years, which again is how long solar is going to last for you. You're going to have, that'll be a $300 a month type of bill, So those are the type of things that we're trying to help businesses and homes here combat. Why rates are rising are pretty simple and straightforward reasons. Outdated infrastructure, you can see that with all the outages that we've had. So they're hiring more and more people and more frequently trying to get out there to upgrade infrastructure, fix things that are broken, grid maintenance, tree trimming, repairs after storms, big reason. And then, I just drove by yesterday on the way to a client's house, a giant data center out in Saline that's going up. And these are going to be more and more frequent. And those centers, those places are just demanding energy at a very, very, very massive volume without really much benefit to the community around it. So when you sort of think about those type of facilities going in and they're getting, tax breaks on the building and the type of energy rates that they have, the bill is being footed to everybody else on the grid when those type of facilities go in, and we're going to need a ton more of those. All right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit more about like just the general how solar works. I'm happy to get into more conversation about like actual specific components and things like that. I think it probably would be best to have that conversation with whatever rep of ours if you guys decide to get a quote talking about specific equipment and gaining a little bit more knowledge about how that stuff works. I'd like to be a little bit more, that 101 level of how this works. But the main thing, and it's pretty straightforward, solar generates electricity from sunlight, right? So as energy is generated in the solar panels, it has to go somewhere. The first and sort of simplest place for it to go is wherever you are in immediate demand of it. So these lights, if this facility had, I don't know, do they have solar here? Yeah. So these lights, as they're on right now, if there was solar on this roof, that power would go directly to these lights, and that would negate any electricity they would otherwise have to buy from the utility company. When there is excess electricity, the excess goes out to the grid, or it can be stored in a battery. Again, the battery systems for commercial projects are going to be a little bit, a little bit harder to narrow down for depending on the type of system that you have. But if you have a battery system, a battery to pair with your solar, the excess solar is going to go to that battery, and then at nighttime when the sun stops shining, you're going to see that discharging of that battery direct to the whatever appliances or lights or outlets are demanding the power. Otherwise, if the battery has depleted all the way, or if there is more demand than what the battery can handle, then the grid will sort of supplement your energy usage. So you are still tied into the grid with the systems that we install, and it is essentially, you do want to think of it as a supplemental energy source, right? There's going to be your main supply from the solar during the day. If you have a battery that can work for your building, then you'll be able to utilize the battery and the grid. All three of those components will be able to power your building and sort of siphon off where the least expensive energy is going to come from. And then, so, again, this is that energy independence side of things where we're trying to get you to use up as much of the electricity that you are producing yourself with the solar system, with the battery system. And a lot of that does go into, some of the best methods are also looking at after you have solar installed, when you use your power, like it's easier for me on the residential side to tell a homeowner like, hey, if in the past you've done your, dishes and laundry and stuff like that at night, try doing that in the middle of the day. Maybe a little bit easier said than done for some of the businesses, but also at the same time, a lot of businesses are more active during the daytime when sun is shining, so we would in our quote be able to show you guys really a good sense of like on a month by month basis when the energy is going to be most beneficial for you that we're producing. And you might see something like a massive savings during your July bill and August bill, maybe not so much of a savings during your winter bills, just because we are in Michigan, and that's the reality of it. Another reason why batteries can be helpful. So I've got a much better card for my residential presentation. The utility rates with DTE, which I would assume anybody here in Oakland County would be on, are pretty simple and straightforward for most businesses if they're just using the general rate, their D3 rate. So it's a pretty flat rate. This used to be how residential rates worked. You just pay one cost per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour that you have coming in. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about excess energy being exported out to the grid. So the reason that that's not the most ideal scenario is because DTE actually takes a little bit off the top of that credit. You're essentially getting a credit that's valued at a wholesale electricity rate. So you pay for every kilowatt hour that you import from DTE 14 cents. The value of anything that you send out to the grid is 8 cents, roughly. There's a couple like 0.0, cents per kilowatt hour as well on top there. So there's a 6 cent difference in what your credit value is versus what you're paying DTE. So say you send 100 kilowatt hours out to the grid during the day, you've got, what's that, $8 or so of electricity credit value. Buying that back from DTE at night after the sun goes down, you don't necessarily get that full, the full retail value of that electricity you sent out. They're gonna basically give that to you at minus the 6 cents. So it's not a very complex process with the export credit rates, and you would, the bills are actually pretty apparent how it shows how they'll tell you how much you've exported, how much you've imported, and how much credit you can apply to that. Credits do not expire, so they can roll over month after month, which is nice. A lot of systems, we've definitely seen systems where if there's a very high usage in the winter and not a ton of usage in the summer, like there's a very high electric heating demand or something like that for a business or a home, we can generate a lot of excess credit in the summertime that'll roll over into the wintertime even as well. So it not only works like from a day to night standpoint of being able to utilize credits, but it also works from a month over month and day over day change. Okay, one of the main things that we do, and we take this on our role as your installer as well, is we work with the utility company on your behalf. We also obviously work with the municipality on your behalf as well to pull permits, get inspections done. But the interconnection process, I think, is probably more of the trickier part for a lot of business owners to sort of understand, see how it works. So we take a lot of that on ourselves. There are a couple of factors that we have to pay attention to when sizing a system for your business or home. And this is a state law. It was actually adjusted a couple of years back. I want to say 3 years back, where basically there's a sizing upper limit. And what the utilities typically do is they look at how much energy you've used in the last 12 months. And so just as an example, 15,000 kilowatt hours is like sort of around probably the upper, I'll just use 10,000 kilowatt hours for the upper limit of like a residential home. A lot of businesses are going to be a lot higher than that, depending on the business. I mean, we've seen dentist office that are, 25,000 kilowatt hours a year. We've seen massive warehouses that are 150,000 kilowatt hours a year. That being said, DT has a formula that we can plug your usage into to determine how much solar on a kilowatt system size requirement you can install on there. And that formula, basically, it creates a 110% limit, right? So the formula, we plug in the amount that you're using, and the formula gives us a number that shows, okay, this system size would produce 110% of what you've used in the last year in that first year of production. So that's our limit that we have to pay attention to on the DTE side to know that your system might be maximized. They wouldn't necessarily approve for the system to be installed if it was larger than that. There are qualifying events. So if you have added a large electric demand or load onto your business that is reflected, more recently than the 12-month historic data, then we can get a larger system as long as there is provided documentation that those type of improvements were made. So big one, I think, for a lot of businesses would be something like changing out a gas furnace heat for an electric heat pump or something like that. Those type of instances. EV charging stations, if you guys have those at your businesses, those would be a good one as well. So make sure you're holding on to that type of paperwork, that type of documentation for us to be able to show DTE, hey, they used 25,000 kilowatt hours in the past year, but they've added a 5,000 kilowatt hour a month load with these EV chargers type of thing, so we can then apply for a larger system. Based on our proposal and walking through the business with you guys and getting all the measurements and pictures that we need, we put together an engineering plan. We would need to present that engineering plan set to DTE along with obviously your municipality for the permits. So we handle all of those steps, but it is a little bit of a lengthy process when it comes to the review period and the final approval. I would expect typically about a month, maybe 6 weeks at the very longest for DT to have the plans in hand and then get approval and us to get up on the roof as a sort of like that minimum timeline. And obviously along with that are the municipal permit applications needing approval as well. So yeah, we handle all that for our customers. Sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth necessary, especially with some commercial projects where we need maybe some further documentation or, coming back out to the site for something like that. But yeah, again, try to keep you guys really the necessary steps on you guys would be like, hey, DT needs this signed. Can you sign this? And your invoice is due. So ideally that's all the interaction that you guys would need to have with anybody, other stakeholders in the process, whether it be DT or municipality. So Mason had mentioned Michigan Saves loans. I've got a few. Michigan Saves has they've got the bridge loan, which I think is great. We haven't really ever used that for one of our commercial clients before, but I think it is a really good one if whether getting a grant or having some funding, but not all funding available. I think the bridge loan is great, but they also have a couple of other lenders on the commercial side. We haven't done a ton. Most of the commercial projects we've done, I don't think they borrowed through Michigan Saves. So I can't say I directly have a ton of experience with these. That being said, Michigan Saves has a really good staff of people that can assist you guys with understanding how these loans work and connecting you with the appropriate parties. Because what they'll do is they'll connect you with a outside and sort of like a third party investor essentially. But yeah, low upfront fees. They've got these 7-year terms that I've seen so far. I'm sure that going through and talking with any of these lenders, terms can be negotiated at some point. And then they'll start with a loan as low as $5,000. I think one of them was the other one they said like a max of 450 million. So up to pretty big loan opportunities available there. And the interest rates that they promoted on their website show either 6 or 7.25% depending on the lender. I'm not a lender. I'm not on the finance side. I'm not going to ask you for your credit score or anything like that. We really like to just be more of a connection between you and the lenders that we are authorized to contract with. Let's talk a little bit more about tax incentives. I know Mason went through that pretty strong. Similar to me not being a lender, I'm also not a tax professional. I do very much encourage if you guys have a tax liability concern, question, I am happy to provide the resources that I have access to, but talk to a tax pro, somebody that may be an accountant, whether it be within your business or somebody that you've relied on before, about how you guys might be eligible, what type of tax liability if you have, if you are not the nonprofit, being looking for a direct pay, those type of systems. Definitely make sure that you have the tax liability that would qualify for this. But yeah, the 30% tax credit it's a little bit sad. It's when I started doing this, the tax credit was supposed to last 10 years and it got extended another 10 years. And unfortunately that was cut off a bit short. Was supposed to originally go through 2032, cut off a bit short at the end of last year for residential systems. And then we're looking at the end of 2027 for systems to be installed for the commercial. So you do have a 30% tax credit right away that you'd have access to. There are domestic content bonuses. If everything's domestic content, that bonus can be included. Energy communities, 10%. I'm not sure if Oakland County has any energy communities. We could certainly look into that if your guys' business is part of that. And then low income communities as well. So like Mason said, up to 70% tax incentive opportunities available. And then nonprofit or government entities looking at direct pay, that's not as well. There is also an accelerated depreciation for Mackers. Again, I think that is something that I have modeled before, but didn't really have a full understanding of. So again, talk to your tax professional about Mackers opportunities for your business if you want to take advantage of that. But I believe it's 60% bonus appreciation at this point. It was 100. I think it's sort of like just dropping down year over year. But yeah, some good incentives are for the commercial side of things that really helps make this a very affordable opportunity for a long-term affordability for your home. So I'm sorry, for your business. So in terms of the Solarize pricing, everybody starts off that is getting a quote from us with a 5% base discount. Anybody that decides to move forward, you're going to get 5% off our standard pricing. I am with the commercial group. I'm very interested to see how much engagement we have with requesting quotes, because I want to make this something that is an opportunity for you guys and have some savings available for you too. So as of now, if we get 6 or more projects purchased, contracted, we'll increase that from the 5% to a 10%. And then if we get to 10 or more, I think we're looking at 15%. I don't know if we even had 10 people really sign up for this, so we're probably gonna, I want to make sure that obviously it works for us. Again, we have our business and need to be healthy, but we also want to make sure that more businesses are getting solar. Ultimately, we'll try and work that referral game off of you and have you get your neighbors and your other friends and family that have their businesses involved once you can tell them how great it worked out for you. So in terms of the dates coming up that we're looking at, the Solarize meeting obviously being today, we would ask that you request a quote by August 31st. Ideally that is enough time for you to determine, hey, this is probably something that's worth looking into on my end. Our quotes, our quoting process should be pretty quick. What we typically do is we can get everything we need based off of satellite and recent electric bills. On the commercial side, we typically need to ask for the last 12 months of electric bills, or if you can get into your DT account and see your usage data for the last 12 months, we want to be able to put that profile together for you. And then we can get you sort of an initial, like, hey, this is what we got just off looking online at the satellite image that we have. We've got a lot LiDAR data and a lot of things that help us build accurate models of your business or home. So try and get that quote requested by August 31st. We should be able to, within a week of you guys requesting a quote, we should be able to get you that initial one. And at that point, if you sort of, hey, this pricing sort of looks like it makes sense and would work for us, let's explore this a little bit more. Then we'd want to come out to the business, meet with you in person, take a look at all the electrical setup that's there currently, walk the roof, make sure that structurally, wherever the panels are going is structurally sound, those type of things. And then, so we're given until the day before Thanksgiving to be able to determine that total group size and finalize that ending discount. So I think that's everything. I'm gonna leave my card up front here as well. Take a few if you guys have partners on the business side that you might, or friends, peers that might be interested in something like this as well. I know Lexi was probably gonna want to say have them register and get a quote request through the group as well. So that's my presentation. And I don't know if we want to open up to Q&A or anything like that.
Definitely.
You wanna?
I want to mention something
Yeah.
first. Thank you so much. I also wanted to say that there are some folks who are planning to participate but could not attend in person. So the group buy discount will be likely larger than just those here right now. With that being said, people, like Seeger mentioned, can opt in by watching the recording and then contacting us after the event. So please do feel free to spread the word and invite others to join. And yeah, I would definitely open up for questions now. Anyone have thoughts? Yes.
I gave you business card, they have a business card for you?
Yeah, I'm grabbing it right now. I think okay.
My question was, is Michigan Saves, are they local? No, that sounds silly. Michigan Saves, are they local?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're based out of Lansing. And they'll use there's a number of different, on the business side, I think Team Financial Group is one of their lenders who's based out of Grand Rapids that does the commercial loans. I can't remember the other.
Verdant, I think, is based out of Blue Ash, which is in Cincinnati, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's nice.
Yeah, are you from Cincinnati?
No, my sister lives
I'm from Cincinnati.
there.
Yeah. I saw Blue Ash on there, I was kind of surprised, I just found that out yesterday though, so you asked at the right time.
Small world. Any other questions? Yeah.
I know that you see, basically talking about commercial, but you also kept mentioning residential. So is your contact going to be for residents as well?
Is my
That
concept?
information, can we also give that to residents?
Oh, absolutely.
For
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
residential?
I mean, 90% of our business is resident. So,
Okay.
so,
This was geared more towards.
yeah, we've got another one coming up at 6 o'clock for residential, so we got a lot more, hopefully a lot more people in there.
I'm looking at how to help my residents. My
Yeah,
businesses seems to be doing very well. The other thing you mentioned, data companies, have they reached out to you for solar information at all?
no, and quite frankly, we are not the type of installer that would work on something that large.
No.
We're a little bit more smaller scale when it comes to the type of systems that we can install. Yeah, I mean, us being more on the local side, that's not really an area that we want to nor have the resources to start facilitating those type of projects. We like the more mom and pop shops. We like the, 10,000 square foot maximum warehouse type of thing. You know.
I probably should wait for the 6 o'clock.
Don't worry, we can send you the slides. And thank you, Commissioner Taylor, for coming. Yeah, a question in the back?
Yeah, sure.
So you get contacted, have done their house first, if they're $2,000 a month,
That's always been,
Was there another question in the back? Yeah, what's up?
I'm not gonna be able to say,
That's okay.
residential,
Mhm.
but I was curious if by chance you work in historical neighborhoods?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, there are obviously, as probably most things that you do on a home in a historical neighborhood. A little extra red tape that we have to jump through to make sure everything is, following the rules of that, so.
Right.
So, generally, we do like to put an expectation of a little bit longer period from contract to installation for that. But we can do the legwork to figure out what it is the state would need, the local district, how to get approval. Sometimes it's as simple as like, hey, don't put panels on the street facing side of the house. Sometimes that is the best spot for it, so, figuring those type of things out early on before the contracts, always happening.
Yeah, I know a lot of the homes have, they're three-story, but they have flat roofs at the top. So I think that would hide it, so yeah, so any side would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else want a business card?
Question. I have a small business. I use electricity. I also use a lot of hot water that's heated by natural gas.
Okay.
Can solar help with that at all, or is it just?
Not on natural gas, it's only electrical, only electrical service that we'd be able to assist with. May or may not be something worth considering transferring over to, getting solar. Obviously, being able to help with conversion of hot water with electricity. I don't think that's, depending on your business size, obviously, I'm not sure how much water you're using, but,
A good amount
okay,
for
yeah.
a small business.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a question you'll have to address in terms of like, is it worth trying to convert? And at that point, the qualifying event side of things, like, if say we design you a system that works for your electric needs now, and you decide, all right, I wanna switch over from natural gas to electric hot water. Make sure you keep that documentation, and we can size the system based on those new components going in, to be able to offset that future usage, essentially.
So whatever's heating the water would need to be heated with electricity.
Correct.
Okay, it'd have to be switched.
In order for solar to assist on it.
And although it's not directly part of Solarize, GLR can also help you decarbonize if you're looking for like a heat pump to offset that natural gas use, or a solar hot water heater. There are other options that are not just putting solar on, but I think it would be great to sort of combine multiple pathways there.
So the heat pump could preheat the water, is that?
Sorry, so a heat pump would be used like basically to replace your current natural gas powered HVAC, if that's what it is. But that's just additional to what we were talking about.
They make heat pump water heaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that as well.
There's a few options out there for electric water heating. I
Yeah.
think, talk to maybe somebody on the mechanical side for the amount of water that you need heated, and they can
God,
recommend.
it's save a lot of money paying it. Keep on ordering.
Yeah. You have a question as well?
Well, I just want to suggest using a heat pump. Well, it's electric. And it's more energy efficient.
So if you guys do reach out to me directly, which I think is what we landed on, reach out to me directly if you guys are interested in a quote. Please make sure that you participated in the Oakland Solarize, and if you are telling other businesses, I don't know if you guys, anybody wants extra cards, I've got plenty here. But make sure that they also mention that they would like to get a quote as part of the Oakland Solarize program when they are with us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate having you here and all your questions. As long as you signed in either on paper or using the QR code, we'll have your contact information. We'll send out all the slides and next steps, including how to request that solar quote. But please feel free to reach out with any other questions if you think of things later or anything comes up.
Is there for commercial, are heat pumps still getting tax credits too?
I don't believe that was on the table, but geothermal is.
Oh, geo.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys again. Please have some food. We have plenty back there, and we'll be around for the next hour to answer questions.